Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined via Skype by FC Kansas City midfielder Christina Gibbons. Gibby, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Gibby, the name of the game is really random. That's where I ask you a random question and you give me the real answer. Some of these questions are custom made just for you, and some of these questions are generic ones that I ask all the people I interview. So, here's the first question. Superpower you'd love to have?
I would love to be able to teleport. Obviously, being a soccer player, being in the NWSL, playing abroad, you don't necessarily get to see the people you want to see all the time, so I'd love to be able to teleport just for a few hours or a couple days back and forth between places and be able to see people. So that would be my superpower of choice.
Favorite movie?
That's a tough one, but I have really, really fond childhood memories of the Goonies, so I think I'm going to have to go with that one simply because of the memories it brings along with it, and I just love the movie in general. So
That's not a James Bond movie. You just let down the internet.
I do love James Bond, but yeah, I have to say favorite all time. If you ask me like favorite series, then maybe James Bond, but favorite single movie of all time, I have to go with the Goonies.
I was just teasing you, but seriously, I think it's very impressive that you can name all the Bond movies. Now, I'm not going to ask you to name all of them, because you've already done that, but I am going to ask you, what's your favorite James Bond movie?
Oh man, this is so tough. I really did like Skyfall, one of the more recent ones, simply because it gave a little bit more background into James Bond's story, which I really enjoyed, but I don't know, a few of the early ones are quite good too. Goldfinger is, yeah, that has to be one of my favorites for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if it's the villain combined with Bond, and I really like Sean Connery, so yeah, that would be my favorite old one, and then my favorite new one I think is Skyfall.
Favorite color?
Not to sound bland, but I really enjoy the color gray. Sort of like a lighter gray, not like a really dark and heavy depressing gray, just a light one.
What was that? Say that again in my good ear. Gray? I thought for sure you were going to say blue because you're a Blue Devil and you play for an NWSL team that's nicknamed the Blues. Why not blue?
Yeah, blue sort of surrounds my life, but I really like the color gray.
Favorite guilty pleasure?
I mean, I guess it'd probably have to be like some type of food, but I'm a vegan now, so I don't eat as much ice cream, so I guess I'll probably say popcorn.
Gibby, right now you're in Australia playing in the Westfield W League for Melbourne Victory. But before we talk about what you're doing right now, let's talk about what you just did, which was complete your first season in the NWSL. So how was it? How was life as an NWSL rookie?
Yeah, life as a rookie was definitely different than anything I'd really experienced playing-wise before, just because I'd always had class or school to go along with soccer, and it sort of becomes a different focus when it's your career. So for me, the transition wasn't as much what was happening on the field, because the soccer, I thought, was just a natural step in terms of playing style, and the greatest speed bump was probably the speed of play. But overall, the transition for me on the field wasn't as tough. It was more so off the field, and realizing that this is now my career, my profession, and approaching everything as a professional, that I think was the biggest difference for me. But I enjoyed my season. I learned a ton. I learned a lot from my coach and a lot of the players around me, and I think it was definitely an experience that helped me to grow as a person, both on the field and off.
In pro football, American football that is, there's this thing called a welcome to the NFL moment. That's when a rookie realizes they're no longer in college and are now a pro player. Since this was your rookie year, what was your welcome to the NWSL moment?
For me, it wasn't necessarily one moment that stuck out, but it was more so the accountability I felt just from all my teammates in general. Not anything that they put on me, but how much I didn't want to let them down, and how much I wanted to be able to prove to them that I was, a worthy teammate and a worthy person to step on the field with. So I think for me, it was the amount of responsibility I felt I put on myself more so than anyone else put on me. So that was a little bit different than anything I had felt previously, but hopefully I lived up to those standards, and my teammates felt like they were someone that I was someone that they could rely on the field, and with the same goes for my coach as well.
I'm sure when you were a kid growing up, you dreamed of what it would be like to play pro soccer. Now that you've done that, did the dreams you had when you were a kid growing up and the reality of what it's actually like to play pro soccer, did those two match up?
I think it's different, definitely. I think there are definitely aspects of it that line up. You always dream about signing autographs after game and being someone that little kids look up to and being a role model in the community that you're in. And I think for me, that was all, those were all things that lined up. But I think, when you have those types of dreams, you always see like the really, really great moments, or, the moments where there's lots of glory, and, it's everything that's ideal. And I think, there's a lot of stuff that comes along with being a professional athlete that's really, really tough. Like, it's tough on your body. It's tough to keep, a really, really strong mentality throughout the entire season when there are ups and downs. So I think, like any dreams, you see always the positives of it, and there are always some tough times that come with it too. But those tough times definitely make you grow, and that's what allows for those really great moments as well. So I think it was different, but there are parts of it where I was like, for sure, this is what I saw myself doing when I was younger, which is really awesome.
Was there anything that happened this season that you thought was going to be really difficult that ended up not being so bad? And on the flip side, was there anything that happened this season that you thought was going to be easy that turned out to be really difficult?
I thought when I first got there that the soccer would be really, really tough, and it would be a really tough transition for me. I think it was different, and the speed of play took a little bit of adjusting in terms of time. But in terms of the soccer, I felt I was really prepared for that, and obviously that goes credit towards my career at Duke and my club career before that, and all the coaches who helped me along the way. So for me, that was not as tough as expected. I guess I don't think I came into it expecting that I would, be playing and get the opportunities that I did as much as I did, and then, transition to midfield like I did, and for that to go as smoothly as it did. So, all of that was a bit of a surprise, but it was a pleasant surprise that I was pleased with looking back on the season.
I'm sure you have lots of stories from the season. What was the craziest thing that happened to you during your rookie year? And I'll let you choose what the definition of crazy is. It can be crazy like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, this is great, or crazy like, that was strange, I didn't expect that to happen. Does anything come to mind?
I think we can all remember a pretty tough moment for our team was when Sam Kerr happened to our team.
Right.
I feel like we got Sam Kerr, like a few other teams in the league, when winning 2-0, and then in the 70th minute, and she comes and scores 3 goals to make it 3-2 and within 12 minutes. So I'd say that in terms of just craziness is something quite crazy. Not the best side of it to be on from my perspective, but that to me is a moment that sticks out this season. That was definitely one of the toughest, but also one of the craziest to witness. Simply, going up against one of the best players in the world and really feeling the impact of one of those players. I think also another moment that sticks out to me in terms of being crazy good was going home and playing in North Carolina in front of so many of my friends and family. And obviously we didn't get the result that we wanted, and that didn't go our way. But for me to go over and thank the fans after the game and see so many people I loved and cared about was, it gets me emotional just thinking about it even, because it had such a huge impact on me.
I was going to ask you about that game a little bit later, but since you brought it up, we can talk about it now. That game took place in New Jersey back on July 8th. It was week 14 of the NWSL season, and there were a lot of firsts for you that day. It was the first time you played as a midfielder during your pro career. You scored your first goal, and it was the first game where you recorded a goal and an assist in the same game. You played outstanding in the first half, and the team was playing great, and it looked like the team would leave with 3 points. But then with 12 minutes left to go in the game, Sam Kerr scored a hat-trick to not only give Sky Blue the win, but to also move past Jess McDonald as the NWSL's all-time leading scorer. You're right, that was a crazy game, but still, it's up for debate which was the crazier game. Sky Blue versus FCKC or Sky Blue versus Seattle. The game where Sky Blue was losing 3-0 at halftime and came back to win 5-4 after Sam Kerr scored 4 goals in the second half. Now, in the second half of this game, Shea Groom got that red card, which played a big factor in the outcome of the game. I still don't think what she did was red card worthy. A yellow card? Sure. But a red? No. But anyways, back to you. Now, since you had such a great game, does the outcome of that game affect your memory of the good moments you had, or are you able to separate the good from the bad?
As soon as the game ended, I had a really tough time separating the two. Obviously, really, really upset for the team and, how the game was going and how quickly it all turned around and didn't go our way. But I think since then I've been able to separate the two and how cool of a feeling that was to get my goal and to have an assist and feel like our team was really, really gelling. And obviously a red card, things change and the game changes, and that's just the game of soccer, and that's how it goes. But also, it's cool for me to look back and feel like, I had a little bit of a part to play in what was a game that will go down in history for Sam Kerr and for the NWSL, which is cool in its own way. And obviously we didn't get the win, but it's cool to think back and be like, wow, I scored a goal in that game, and I can separate that feeling from what it felt like to lose. And also, when you're looking back at a game like that, you just have to give credit to where credit's due, and I have the utmost respect for Sam Kerr, and I think she's an awesome player. So obviously not a fun side to be on in that game, but it was cool to see what Sam Kerr was able to do this season and watch her as a player.
I have my own take, but I want to hear yours first before I tell you mine, because we might have the same one. But what would you say was your best moment of the season?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would say that first half of the Sky Blue game was probably my best as a player this season in terms of getting the assist, transitioning midfield, and it going that well that early on. But I felt there was actually a game we played away at Washington Spirit. We won 1-0, but I felt that was probably one of my best games of the season in terms of, how good my body felt and the way I was playing. I was really, really pleased with it. So for me, it would be that game. But yeah, I'd love to hear what someone else thought about it if you would like to share.
You had a lot of great moments this season, but I'd say your best moment of the season was Week 16 in Boston, when you were a part of the best team goal of the season. The goal where Desiree Scott brought up the ball basically the entire length of the field, and then got the ball over to you, and then you got the ball over to Megan Kelly, and then she tapped it in for the goal. It was awesome. What do you remember about that play, and talk me through the execution of it?
Yeah, I definitely think it was a great moment. It slips my mind a lot because, to be honest with you, I feel like I didn't do much of the work because I feel like Desi dribbled the entire Boston field. So,
yeah, sure. Sure.
For me, walking through it, I had been caught out wide for some reason, and I saw Desi, win the ball and just start dribbling, and so I figured I was in the best position to be making the run forward and trying to spring forward, and that's what Flacco had told me to do leading up to that game is, trying to get forward and make some runs in transition. So that's what I did, and I was just running along, and then all of a sudden I heard Shea behind me saying, Gibby, hit it hard or start sprinting or make the run. So that's when I decided to kick it into the next gear, and Desi played me a great pass, and to be honest, the rest is kind of a blur. I think think Megan was yelling for it, and I figured she was in a better position than me to score, so did my best to slot one on the ground right across to her, and it worked out really well. But I feel like those are the moments where they happen so quickly that you trust your instinct and you trust that you're prepared in that moment to do the right thing. And luckily it worked out, and a lot of credit to Desi for the run she made, and Megan for trusting me and trusting that I'd get the ball to her and being in the right spot.
I love that goal. I remember the first time I watched it, I remember thinking to myself two things. First, we need to get Desiree Scott the ball more in open space because she was doing work on that play. And I remember when you got the ball and you passed it over to Megan Kelly, it was so fast, I was like, how did she do that? Because it was a boom play. The minute you got the ball, you had to get rid of it. I was so impressed by that play. I just, like I said, I thought it was the best team goal of the season. That was great.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. It was definitely a great team goal, and I'm glad you reminded me of it because now that will be on my top moments of the season as well.
Now, Gibby, if you had to give yourself a letter grade for how you played this season, what grade would you give yourself?
Oh, that's a tough question to ask because I'm definitely my best critic, I think. All things considered, and being a rookie in the league and trying not to be too hard on myself, I'd probably go somewhere in the B range. But if you had talked to me after each individual game, then it'd probably vary anywhere from A to D minus. So I think I'm being a bit kinder to myself now than I would have been if you had asked me that a few weeks back. But yeah, we'll go with somewhere in the B range. Trying to be a little bit friendly here because I'm pretty tough on myself.
What about the team? This season, the soccer gods were so cruel to FC Kansas City. In week 1, at halftime, I thought the team was going all the way. I remember watching the first half of that game against Boston and saying to myself, this is the best team in the league. Then Amy Rodriguez got injured, and I don't know if the team ever recovered from that because there was that long stretch in the middle of the season where the team went winless. So both those things were very cruel. Then when the team started to get hot at the end of the season, it was too late. So that was also cruel in a roundabout way. So what letter grade would you give the team for this season?
Yeah, obviously, you can look back and think about, being hampered by an A-rod injury, and it took us quite a long time to bounce back from that and really find our stride and figure out, what our plan was going forward from that, and, moving around personnel and figuring out what worked best for us. And yeah, obviously there was a, 9 weeks or so where we had a really tough stretch of the season. And then, like you said, started to really gel again at the end of season, and, being hampered with a really, really tough schedule of, I think it was like 3 games in almost 1 week, and ended up getting 9 points out of that week. You wouldn't think it's almost like we were 2 different teams in different parts of the season, which is tough to put an overall grade on. But the thing that I was really proud of about the team was, the resilience of going through a stretch like that and still being able to put together high-quality performances at the end of the season when most people would simply give up and think that, there's no shot at the playoffs and why even try now and stuff like that. But it's cool to be a part of a group of people who don't give up and, who are really strong both mentally and physically to be able to compete like that, regardless of the standings and regardless of the injuries you've taken over this season and, what other people are saying about you. So I think for me, in terms of just the resilience of the team, I'd probably go with a B+ because, although we had a really tough stretch and it wasn't perfect, the way we ended the season was a lot more positive than, anything I probably would have expected if you had asked me halfway through the season. So I was pretty pleased with that effort, and obviously really proud to be a part of such a strong group of women like that.
Earlier you said the toughest transition from college to pro you had to make was off the field things, not on the field stuff. So what was it like living in a new area for the first time? Because you grew up in North Carolina, you went to school at Duke, so you were very familiar with your surroundings. Now you go to a new city in a new state and you're unfamiliar with your surroundings. So how long did it take for you to get settled?
Yeah, I think I'm extremely close with my family. So I think that definitely added to the difficulties of me being away for the first time, really. Not that when I was at Duke, I didn't go home very often, but my parents were able to come to almost all of my games, and we would get dinner a lot and stuff like that. So I think just obviously not seeing them as much was really tough for me. And my sister was living around the area when I went to Duke as well, and I'm very close with her. So those were all definitely things that impacted me when I was in Kansas City. But, I thought that it's tough when you're in school and you have so many things that occupy your mind aside from soccer. And, when you're on the field, it's sort of like an escape from everything else that's going on in the world. But, when it becomes your career, it's easy to, let the little mistakes or the little things you think about sit with you for the rest of the day, because it's not like you have anything else going on. So for me, it was being able to keep my mind busy and pick up some other work and do some other things that I cared about and felt strongly about, rather than simply sitting there and letting myself get in my own head about how I played or, what I could be doing more and stuff like that. So I think, it all comes down to balance, and that's how it is in school with soccer when you're in college, and even in club when you're trying to balance club soccer with high school and all that kind of stuff. So I think for me it was the first time that I really had to go looking for the balance, because when you have school and soccer, the balance is already sort of there for you. So yeah, I think that's mostly the difficulties that I spoke about, was the first time being away from my family. And I think I tend to be pretty independent, so I handled that well, but it's not like, naturally I'm going to miss them a little bit, I think. And my mom would kill me if she heard me say differently, but obviously I miss them a ton. And then, just trying to find a proper balance when soccer becomes your career, of it still being your career and something you really, really care about and really enjoy and a big part of your life, but not letting it consume your life entirely.
You were picked 5th overall in the 2017 NWSL draft. The North Carolina Courage had the 2nd overall pick. Were you hoping they would pick you because you live 5 minutes away from where they play their home games, and during the WUSA days, you were a ball girl for the Carolina Courage? So you could have come full circle if they did draft you. So did you want to stay in North Carolina, or were you hoping for what ended up happening, which was you going somewhere else?
Yeah, I think that I would have been happy at the time to be drafted by North Carolina, and also I was really pleased with what happened with Kansas City, because I was just looking for an opportunity and looking for a place to play and looking for a coach who believed in me. And so I think for me, had I been drafted in North Carolina, I would have been really pleased about it and really excited about the chance to play in my hometown. But also, I was really excited about the chance to go to Kansas City. Obviously, I've lived in North Carolina, got a lot. I went to school there, so I think for me it was a good time while I was young to go explore something different and be on my own. And so it's not something I was upset about. I was really open to Kansas City, and I had heard great things about Blacko as soon as I was drafted. So for me, it was an opportunity to go learn a bit about myself, grow up a little bit, and see something different. And I think for me, it was a good time in my life to be able to do that, like right out of college, and go explore a different part of the United States that I had never really been to before, really explored before, and learn a bit about myself.
Who were your roommates? Because I'm not sure. At the beginning of the season, you were rooming with Brianne Reed, but then she left the team and went over to Sweden. Then I thought you were rooming with Shea Groom, but then I was watching episode 2 of Dishing with the Destroyer, and you're with Caroline Flynn and Brittany Ratcliffe, and you're saying those are your roommates. So who did you room with this season?
Yeah, so And actually, we had quite a few people in and out of my apartment. We were sort of come one, come all. Everyone was welcome. But Shay was actually my road roommate, so I did room with her on away trips this year. But my actual roommates for the majority of the season ended up being Caroline Flynn and Britt Ratcliffe. But at the beginning, I started out in a different apartment and moved, and then that's when I was with Bree Reed and a couple other amateur players, and we all got shuffled around a little bit. But I finally settled in with Britt and Caroline, and we had, when we did that episode, Caroline had only moved in, I think a couple weeks beforehand, so we didn't quite know each other that well. But then by the end of the season, we all got along really well, and I really enjoyed rooming with them. So we had a nice little apartment situation going on.
Some big news broke this week. Unfortunately, it's bad news. Vlatko Andonovski, the man who brought you to Kansas City, is no longer the head coach of FC Casey. He's now the head coach of the Seattle Reign. How did you take the news when you found out, and who told you?
Yeah, obviously it's really recent, and since I'm in Australia, I think Vlatko is making calls to a lot of the girls on the team to give them heads up, as simply, he's the type of coach who wants us to hear everything from him before we hear it from, some other news or media source. So I got an email from him. He didn't have my Australian number at the time, letting me know that he was not going to be the coach next year. And he and I have tried to touch base a couple of times. We've been playing a little bit of phone tag. But, yeah, he gave me the heads up, which obviously I really, really appreciate. Just, that's the type of guy that he is. And playing for him this past year was such an honor. And, I wish him nothing but the best going to Seattle. And I hope that, he's very successful there. Regardless of what happens with Kansas City, I think that he's had such a great impact on the club there. And, I can only be thankful for the time that he was able to coach me this past season and how much I learned from him.
Hobbies outside of soccer?
I really like to paint. My sister was always more artistic than I was, but I sort of realized in high school when she had gone to college that I also had the artistic gene. So, yeah, I really enjoy art, photography, painting, drawing, stuff like that. I practice Spanish every day, so trying to be fluent in that and seeing if I can, progress my skills in that. But sometimes I forget to do it, which, yeah, I'm trying to make it a habit. And then I really love exploring and traveling, which is, one of the main reasons why I've decided to come abroad this off season and explore Australia and learn about different cultures. So I think for me, yeah, those are probably the top three. I love eating, I love food, but like I said, I'm a vegan, so that's been an adjustment for me this past season as well. But doesn't mean I don't love food as much. I still eat a lot.
Why do you always have your left wrist taped? I've heard you have a bracelet that's your good luck charm, and you wear the tape to keep it on so you don't lose it during the games when you're playing. Is that true? Why the tape?
Yeah, I actually do have a bracelet. It's really small. It's a slip knot bracelet with like a small little piece of metal on it. The reason I tape it is because I think if I took it off, I would not be able to get it back on again. So, and I don't want to take it off. It never comes off. I wear it in the shower and, all the time. But the story behind the bracelet is when my sister was studying abroad when she was in college, it was the first time that she went to college at NC State. So obviously it's in Raleigh and we had seen each other a lot. It was the first time that she and I had not really had a chance to see each other for an extended amount of time. And obviously different time zones, had a tougher time talking. And like I said, we're very close. So she was traveling around at the end of her trip abroad and got this bracelet for me in Greece and brought it back to me. And it's supposed to be a symbol of good luck. So instead of taking it off, I tape it every time. And it's like my little good luck charm that I wear for games and just during life. So that's the story behind it. So there is a bracelet underneath the tape. It has some significance, but I've switched around the color of the tape over the years. I prefer black, but sometimes you just got to take what you can get.
Yeah, sometimes you have black, sometimes you have white. And last week when you guys played against Melbourne City, you had like a flesh color tape.
Yeah, I ran out of my black tape in Australia, and apparently black athletic tape is not the easiest thing to acquire over here, and the trainers only have flesh color tape, so I went with the flesh colored, but I didn't mind it. I mean, as long as the bracelet's there and it's taped, then, color is not that big of a deal.
I was getting worried because I thought you lost it, so I had to really, really zoom in. There's a picture online of you battling Jess Fishlock for the ball, and I was like, oh, it's flesh color. That's good.
Yeah, it's a little bit of camo. I'm just trying to keep people on their toes, so now you have to look for it if I have the flesh colored tape on, but it's still there, don't worry.
Do you still bite the apple before a game, or did you leave that behind at Duke?
No, that was definitely just a Duke thing. That was a teammate of mine, Melinda Allen. She was the one who forced us all to bite the apple. But it was a good tradition while it lasted. I still eat apples, but yeah, I don't have a specific game day bite the apple tradition anymore. But it'd be interesting to ask if anyone at Duke still does that.
Do you have any pregame rituals or superstitions?
I don't have a ton. Obviously, taping my wrist is probably my biggest one. I brush my teeth before every game. Like, after I eat my pregame meal, my pregame snack, or whatever I eat, I have to have my teeth brushed when I go out on the field. So that's probably my other big one. But other than that, yeah, I don't really have any others. I'm not a specific type of music person or whatever. I like to dance a little bit in the locker room, but I don't have like a routine or anything that I have to perform, which is unfortunate. Maybe I should make one. But yeah, I would just say taping my wrist and brushing my teeth are the two things I absolutely have to have checked off my list before I walk out on the field for game day.
Do you have any post-game rituals?
Showering, I don't know, laying down in bed and feeling tired. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, usually just going to get something to eat. And when I was in Kansas City, I would usually make a protein shake or some type of smoothie after games and enjoy that a lot, especially after the hot summer games that we played. But I don't have a blender in Australia. Maybe I'll get one. So far I don't have any here. So I'm not superstitious after games at all. I'm not much before it anyways. So yeah, for me it's usually just trying to get a good meal and start recovering and get some sleep, although I tend to be a little bit wired with adrenaline after games.
Biggest soccer girl problem?
Probably my bun. I don't know. People make fun of me for they don't know how it stays up, and sometimes it doesn't stay up, and I have had problems previously with hair ties breaking or my hair falling out in the middle of the game or trying to put my hair up in the middle of the game and then someone starts to play too quickly and I'm running around with my hair up or half down or my hand still up on my head trying to do my hair. So that would probably be my biggest soccer girl problem.
Besides soccer, what are you passionate about?
Passionate about my family. I've said it a few times, I think, but I really care about my family. But I'm passionate about helping people. I believe in, maybe it's naive, but I believe that people tend to be really good-hearted and that we should do our best to help each other out and be there for each other. So I'm passionate about, being loyal to the people I care about and being there for anyone I can be there for. So I think for me that's what's most important.
What motivates you in life and in soccer?
I think what motivates me most in soccer is, all the people who said that I wasn't good enough or who said that I couldn't do it or who doubted me along the way. So not necessarily that they're the ones who motivate me, but it sparked something in me internally. So I became my biggest motivator. And like I said, I hold myself to a really high standard in soccer. In life, I think I also am one of my biggest motivators, but I feel like my mom is a huge sense of not necessarily motivation, but inspiration as to what's possible and what I can achieve and, a really good way to live your life and be happy. So, I think that'd probably have to be it.
If you weren't a pro soccer player, what would your job be?
It's just like the second time I've gotten this question pretty recently. I've been doing some work on the side, like I said, is some graphic design work. So probably that. I enjoy photography a lot. I don't know if I would ever do that. I'd love to be a food critic. That would probably be really high up there on the list, but, I'm not sure how plausible that is considering I don't have a culinary background. But, one can dream, right?
Like I said earlier, you're in Australia, playing in the Westfield W League for Melbourne Victory. Now, I know you haven't been there very long, but how have things been going so far?
Yeah, I think I'm coming up on a month here. It's been good. It's been a really cool experience to, come over here. And I've only been here a short time, but start to explore a little bit around where I'm living, and also see a different style of soccer and be on a different team and experience, different atmosphere of what a different team is like, since I've only had such a short experience playing professionally and only been on one team so far. It's cool and different to see a different way that people approach things and just have a wider range of knowledge when it comes to that. But the team, I really enjoy the girls. The team is really young, so it's a lot of fun. Everyone has a lot of energy, which is refreshing in a lot of ways. And I think we're starting to gel together. We have we're 1-1 right now, so we have a bye this weekend, and I think going forward we're it's about improving every game, and so from a soccer standpoint, I've been pleased with it, and I'm pleased with how I've been able to step in the role I'm playing so far. And then in terms of life, I love where I'm living. I'm able to walk a lot of places, living right in some of the suburbs of Melbourne. And this weekend we have a bye weekend, so we're gonna take a little day excursion and try and explore some of the great sites along the coast. So for me, it's been already an awesome experience, and I'm really excited for the rest of it. And I hope that I can come back with a better understanding of the world and also a better understanding of soccer.
How did this opportunity come about? Did Victory come to you and say, hey, we want you to come play for us? Did you reach out to them? Did FC Kansas City tell you they wanted you to go over for the offseason and play in the W League? Did you go to FC Kansas City and say, hey, I want to go over to Australia and play in the W League during the offseason? Can you guys help me out and find me a spot? How did you get on Victory?
Yeah, so actually it's funny. So Natasha Dowie actually approached me. We were playing at Boston, and she came up to me after the game and was like, hey, do you want to play in Australia? And I didn't have really much time to think about it. She looked me dead in the eye, and I felt like I couldn't really say no. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. I'll check it out or see what it's about. And she's like, yeah, no pressure or whatever. The manager has been looking at you and is interested in if you're if you've thought about it or whatever. So I guess it sounded like to me that the Victory coach had been watching a lot of NWSL games and decided that I was maybe a player that he was interested in getting over there in a midfield role. And so Natasha Dowie, obviously, already being a part of the Victory squad, she let me know, and then she got me in touch with Jeff, our coach and manager. And from there, it was pretty much, hey, we want you to come over. We like how you play. And, after hearing a lot more information about it and living situations and, researching and talking to my FC Kansas City coach, talking to previous players who have been over here, I decided it was a really awesome opportunity, and I couldn't really turn it down.
Over the years, there's been a lot of Americans that have gone down to Australia and played in the W League, and for this season, you were the first player they announced that was going to go down under and play. So when did you know you were going to play in the W League? Because the NWSL playoffs hadn't even happened yet when they announced you'd be going to Australia to play, and there were some players, some American players, that it wasn't even announced they had signed until the week of round 1. So when did you know you were going there?
Yeah, I guess I knew pretty early on. Victory had said that they wanted to, as long as I was sure, and I had thought about it and I obviously wanted to be aware of their timeline as well, because if I had said no, and I wanted to give them a timely decision so that they could start to look into other players or, start recruiting other players to come over. So I responded to them probably a couple weeks after Natasha Dowie had come up to me in Boston. So I'd say I knew pretty early on. It just was a matter of getting all the paperwork through and getting the loan and all that stuff worked out before they could announce it publicly.
how is your role with Victory similar, and how is it different from what you did this season with FC KC?
I think obviously I'm playing a midfield role here, so I think it's similar in terms of on the field as, the type of workload I'm expected to do, and defensively the type of positioning I'm supposed to hold, and my defensive responsibilities in the game. I think same goes with being an option for playing out and connecting our back line to our front line, and so I think that's probably pretty consistent between Victory and what I was doing at FC Kansas City. I think the Victory team that we have here is definitely a little bit younger and doesn't have quite as much experience as the Kansas City team that I was on. So I think being here, and especially being an international, it requires of me stepping up a little bit more into a leadership role. And that's one that I definitely welcome with open arms. And, hopefully that will help me grow as a person when I go back to NWSL, and maybe a role I can take on in the future in the NWSL. But so far here, I think I'm someone that hopefully a lot of the other players respect, and hopefully I can help them as much as they help me while I'm here. So that's probably a little bit more of a difference than what it necessarily I'm expected to do off the field is maybe be a little bit more of a leader on the field and off.
The W League seems very different from the NWSL. It feels more wide open and more offense-oriented. We see a lot more scoring in the W League, and we see a lot less defense being played. That's what I see when I watch the games, but you've played in these games, so how do you see things?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you a little bit. It seems a little bit more open so far, a little bit more space to work with, and probably a little bit more transition. I think that maybe because every team in the league here seems like they want to press and seems like they have intentions to press, and especially with some of the firepower that some of the teams have offensively, it seems like in the past some of the score lines have been pretty high or pretty lopsided. So yeah, obviously I've only been here a couple of weeks, but I think a lot of the teams want to keep it and want to play a possession style, but I think that they have really direct intentions with their possession. So hopefully it's something that will help me going back to the NWSL is playing probably a little bit more of a different style here and gaining a little bit more knowledge. And, I hope that our Victory team can sustain what we did in the first game this season and take that and carry forward and, rack up a few wins here going forward.
Gibby, you've been going nonstop for a while now, whether it's right now playing with Melbourne Victory or playing in the NWSL or playing with the U23s. So how much time off have you had this year?
Yeah, probably not much. Considering that one of our longer breaks in season, I ended up playing a couple games in Sweden. So I'd probably say at the end of this W League season, I had a couple weeks before coming to Australia, and that was probably the most time I had without a regimented practice schedule. But for me, I start to get a little bit antsy if I'm not practicing or not doing something within a few days. So it's not something that I'm going to complain about at all, because I'd rather be doing something than not doing anything at all. But a lot of people, older players in the league, I've talked to, and they've given me their knowledge on making sure I take care of my body and being aware of my load and stuff like that. So I've tried to be pretty smart about it and be aware of the time I'm taking off versus when I'm out there putting in the work. But I also have a lot of people at my disposal at FC Kansas City and here at Victory who are willing to help me, and they look at that type of stuff and manage that kind of thing. So I'm really lucky not to be dealing with that type of stuff on my own.
When this W League season ends, will this be the most games you've played in a single year?
I think so, because probably playing about 20, anywhere a little over, a little under 20 games in a college season. So this year I've already had 24 with the NWSL season, and then add by the end of the year, I guess it will be at least 6 more. So that will probably be about 30 games. So I think that will probably be the most. But they've been more spaced out than they would have been in a college season. So, yeah, I mean, I guess if you add national team camps or spring games in college, maybe it's about the same. But I don't know. My body seems to be holding up all right so far, which I'm pleased with. But I can definitely tell that obviously I'm not as young as I used to be, even though I'm 22, and I have to do the proper things to recover and take care of myself while playing this many games in a year.
Is your family going to come visit you? Because we have several big events coming up soon. There's Thanksgiving, there's Christmas, there's your birthday on December 30th, and there's New Year's. I know in the past your family has gone international to watch you play. How about this time around? Are they going to make the trip down under and visit you?
Yeah, I think that was one of the conditions when I originally agreed to come over to Australia, was talking to my family about it, and I asked them, would you guys come see me for Christmas if I win? And obviously that played a big part in my decision. So they will be over here for Christmas, and my parents are going to stay. My sister will be here as well, and my parents. So I'm super, super excited about that. And for us, obviously, it's an opportunity to be able to explore and have a nice little family vacation. So I'd like to say it's just a means for us being able to travel a little bit together. And obviously I'm super blessed and really, really, really thankful that they're able to come over here and visit me, which will be awesome.
Favorite food?
I love roasted vegetables, like any roasted vegetable, but yeah, roasted sweet potatoes too. Really good.
Why did you decide to go full vegan? Is it because you just feel better eating this way? Or is it because of the animal rights? Or is it some other reason? Why exactly did you go full vegan?
Yeah, so I have been kind of like flirting with non-dairy for a while. I just haven't necessarily liked the way that milk tastes. I don't like the way that my stomach feels after I eat cheese and whatever. So I had sort of been doing that for a while, and I had been drinking like non-dairy milk and sort of going away from cheese for a little bit. And then when I was in Kansas City, I realized I wasn't cooking meat at all when I was at my apartment, and I cooked a ton for myself when I was there. And the only time I would eat meat was like every other week or every other 2 weeks when we would travel, and it would be the easiest option. So I decided to keep it consistent in terms of my body and, experiment and see how it felt, trying to keep it consistent and just cooking for myself all the time and not eating meat when we traveled. And it was a really easy transition for me. And then the last time I had fish was, because originally I was like, okay, I won't do dairy and I won't do meat, but I really, really like fish, so I'll still do fish. And then I went to Boston, and my family was there because my sister lives there now, and I had sushi there, and then that was the last time I've had fish since. So, yeah, it's not necessarily for animal rights. I think it definitely helps the planet in a lot of ways. But yeah, mostly for me, just health and stomach and trying to keep things consistent for my body was the main reason.
Do they have falafel in Australia?
They do not have falafel, not that particular brand, but they have a lot of falafel. They have a ton of vegan options. I've been really, really pleased with the food scene here, especially where I'm living in Melbourne. So, yeah, I can't complain. Everything's really, really fresh, and they have a ton of healthy options for me, including falafel. So, yeah, I don't have that many bags. By the end of season, I'd basically finished up all my bags. So I guess wherever I end up next end of resale season or going back to Kansas City, I'm going to have to restock my freezer with some falafel in.
Well, that's good. I was about to say, how are you surviving?
Yeah, no, they have plenty of falafel. So every time that we're on a team trip or they're giving us like a team meal, then for some reason I end up with falafel, and it's like they read my mind because it's what I would want anyways. But I think that tends to be the easiest vegan option for a lot of restaurants who don't typically cook vegan or anywhere that's catering. So I get a lot of falafel anyways, which is awesome.
You competed in the FC Kansas City Blueberry Pie Eating Contest and took 4th place, but how was the pie?
Oh, I wish that I hadn't tried so hard because all the blueberries got up my nose. And, like, that made it quite uncomfortable because I swear for about 3 days afterwards I was still smelling blueberries. So I think there were, like, still pieces in my nose. But if I had eaten the pie slower, I would have really, really enjoyed it because it was actually so delicious. So a lot of credit to Barney and Shay who made the pies. They even, like, went to the trouble of making, I think they made some of the crust, like, gluten-free or something for someone else. Yeah, I don't know. They were delicious, though. So, yeah, I wish that I had known from the start that I probably wasn't going to win. But I really did give it my best effort. And, you know, I was selling it for 3 days after. And for a little while, I was like, oh, it still smells good. And then after a while, I sort of got tired of it. But I haven't really had blueberry pie since. It might still be a little while. I'm not sure if I'm ready to take it on again. But yeah, that was a really fun day. I really enjoyed our little pie eating contest.
I know you were disappointed about your 4th place finish, but if it's any consolation, I thought your technique was great. I was very surprised you finished that low. I thought maybe you could have got 2nd or 3rd, but how about Brittany Taylor? The woman is a machine. I've never seen anything like this. She won a pie eating contest, and her face was clean at the end. It was incredible.
Yeah, so I guess, I thought I had a really good technique, too. I thought it was really going to work out for me, but she ended up flipping it over and getting it out of the tin somehow, which I didn't think was possible, and then was, like, done with it in 3 bites. So I'm not sure if anyone could really compete with that. But, credit to her. She won all fair and square, so, maybe next time.
Favorite band and or solo artist?
I listen to a ton of music, and it ranges from all different types of genres. But probably my go-to if I'm just trying to chill out and relax and really listen to the music, I really enjoy the Lumineers. So I'll probably go with them.
Favorite TV show, and it can be a show currently on the air or a show no longer on the air. Just overall, favorite TV show.
Easy. Game of Thrones. Yeah, without a doubt.
Go-to song when you're singing in the shower.
Oh, any oldies song. Like any beach music. Like Build Me a Buttercup, My Girl, Brown Eyed Girl, Little Red Book. Yeah, any of those.
Who's your celebrity crush?
People ask me this all the time, and I don't follow celebrities enough to have one really, but I'll probably just go with Ryan Reynolds, I guess.
Celebrity people say you look like.
Oh, yeah, Beyonce.
This might be a weird question, and I bet you're thinking to yourself, Mike, when are the normal questions coming? But stick with me. Now, I don't really know how to ask you this, so I'm just going to do it. Do you ever wear makeup?
Not really. I'll put a little bit on, like some mascara or, something, but yeah, I don't know. I have pretty sensitive skin in general. Like a lot of anything that's fragrance, like tends to irritate my skin, and I don't know. I feel like I look the same with or without makeup anyways, but yeah, I don't know. I tend to be like pretty like get ready in 5 minutes and it's whatever. It is what it is. So I don't really wear makeup very often at all. If I do, like a little bit of eye makeup, but yeah, rarely.
You don't need it. You're so naturally beautiful. I was just curious because I was leaning towards no, you don't wear any. But then there's that old saying, the secret to wearing makeup is to make it look like you're not wearing any. So then I was thinking, well, maybe you do wear it, and you had just mastered that art, so I had to ask.
No, yeah, I haven't mastered anything in terms of makeup. I just really don't wear it very often at all.
Okay.
But it keeps my life simple, saves money. It is what it is.
Favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
See, I thought you were going to say Snapchat because out of anyone, anywhere in the world, you had the best Snapchat takeovers of the year. They were great. I really enjoyed the 2 that you did. The first one in Kansas City, and then the second one that you did in Sweden when you were over there playing with the U23s. Now I have 2 comments and a question. My comments are, I thought your toothbrushing technique, toothbrushing, whatever. I thought your technique was better in the second one, and I thought your scaring a teammate was better in the first one. And my question is, why were you and Danny Weatherholt in a river?
Yeah, so the brushing the teeth thing is, I'll keep that in mind when maybe I take over another Snapchat, is people actually do really look at my technique, so I need to keep that in mind. I love scaring people, so I do that all the time, regardless of Snapchat, whether it's on or not. And then we were in a river because we were ice bathing, and they decided, the river was cold enough that we should just walk down to the river and ice bath in the river. So Danny and I decided to walk out as far as we could, and until we couldn't walk any farther, and it ended up being, pretty shallow all the way up until the middle of the river, and then we just sort of parked it right there and hung out in the middle of the river. But not many people can say that they've been standing in the middle of a river in Sweden, so that's kind of why we did it. But it was a cool experience.
Now, I see this all the time on social media. Everyone always posts this. It's the gif of you at the NWSL draft. You do this little dance when they call your name and you're walking to go on stage to give that little speech that they make everyone who gets drafted, who's at the draft. They make them all do this speech. You do this little dance, this little shimmy. It's great. And I see fans, FC Kansas City and the NWSL, post this gif of you all the time. People will write on Twitter something like, me realizing it's the weekend, and then they post that gif of you. Or FC Kansas City will write something like, us playing in the Lifetime Game of the Week has us like, and then they'll post that gif of you. It's the best. I'm actually doing it right now. What exactly is this dance you're doing? I'm doing it right now, and I don't even know what I'm doing, but it's the best. I absolutely love this dance. So what exactly is it? And it needs a name. So what are we going to call it?
This is funny. I knew exactly what you're talking about before you even said what it was. I guess we can just call it the Gibby. I don't know. Something just stamp something pretty classic on it. And I think at the time I was walking by, I think it might have been Maddie Bauer who was giving me a couple thumbs up or something. And we had been, before the draft, been talking about that we were nervous or whatever, what if we don't get drafted, whatever, going through all these ridiculous scenarios. So I walked by her and she gave me a little thumbs up. So I gave her a little shoulder thumbs up dance. I honestly don't know what it was. It was just in the moment, and I was excited, and that's what happened. So yeah, pretty goofy, but that tends to be who I am a little bit. So yeah, I'm so glad that the Twitter world has captured it fully.
Melbourne Victory has the wrong Instagram account for you on their website. The Twitter is correct. When I click the little birdie, it takes me right to yours, but when I click the Instagram camera, it takes me to someone else's Instagram. Your C Gibby _ and this person is just C Gibby. I'm sure she's a nice person, but she's not you, and I'm sure she's not doing other Gibby things. That's not really a question, but I thought I should tell you.
I'm going over to the offices today, so I'll have to alert someone that they have my Instagram handle wrong, which is so sad. Maybe I could be getting some more followers over there, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's the same on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah. I thought that would make life easier for people, but maybe I just complicated things by having the underscore. But yeah, I'll get that sorted out. Hopefully, we can fix it.
How did the nub come to be?
Yeah, I did it in third grade. I mean, I think people mostly know the story. I was playing indoor soccer, and the coach of the other team, I was on the field. They made a sub. It was like the big ice hockey rink doors, but we were playing on a turf field in one of those rinks. So he shut the door, cut the tip of my pinky off. I don't know. I think, just teammates and teams hearing the story, and it just became the nub. And then I think when I told the story to the world during my 20 cycle, then it sort of became like what I was known for a little bit, is having the nub. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how the name arose, but that's the story behind it.
What part of your pinky are you missing? Is it just the tip? Is it from the nail down? What exactly are you missing?
I would say it's just I don't know, maybe half an inch shorter than my other pinky, just from the top down. So how your skin would usually come past your nail, or right. Comes underneath, all the way underneath your nail. Well, my nail just extends farther than the rest of my pinky. Originally, when it happened, I didn't know if the nail would ever grow back, because it didn't really look like it, but it's grown back. It's really healthy, and yeah, it's just who I am now.
You fell off your bike riding down a volcano in Hawaii. How did this happen?
Yeah, so we went up. I was on family vacation with my family. We went up to see the top of this volcano, and you can see the sunrise over the top. You're basically on top of the sun when the sun rises, or on top of the clouds, so you can see the sunrise over the clouds, which is really, really cool. And then you bike down it, and there's paths, and then you end up on some roads towards the lower end of it. And I was behind my sister, and it was starting to become a little bit flatter, and we were starting to pull away from my parents and pick up some speed, and I was a little bit too close behind her, I think, and she saw a little church on the side of it that she wanted to stop and take a picture at, because it was really pretty with the background. And she stopped so abruptly, and I was a little bit too close behind her, that I ran into the back of her wheel, and it basically just ejected me right off my seat, and it flew probably about 20 feet or more through the air. And luckily I was wearing a full BMX helmet. I think I had whiplash for 4 days, and ripped through my pants, ripped through the 3 layers I was wearing of jackets. And yeah, it was kind of intense, but it was my own fault, because I was way too close behind her. So not at all what you would think, biking down a volcano and it's really, really steep and I fall off and whatever. No, it was just me kind of being stupid. But yeah, that's the story for that one.
How old were you when this happened?
Middle school, maybe?
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Maybe it was high school.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe right before high school. I'm not sure. I honestly can't remember. It was a good amount of time ago.
How did you break your nose in England, and didn't you do it again a year later?
Yeah, so they both happened the same exact way. I was in England. We were playing in a game. It was for a group of ECNL sort of all-stars that they had taken over to England, and went up for a header, and another girl who was much taller than me, unfortunate that I tend to be a little bit shorter, went up. My nose is right at her elbow height. Took an elbow to the nose, had to get stitches, whatever. And then I got it fixed, because I came back from England and they did not do the greatest job of setting it. And, I walked back in the airport and my mom was like, yeah, you definitely broke it. We definitely, you can't have it. You can't walk around with it looking like that. So got it fixed. Everything was great. 2 years later, playing in a game at Duke, same thing, just happened to be a girl's elbow height while she was running. I was running right next to her. She was just taller than me. Took an elbow to the nose, broke my nose again. But luckily the second time I didn't have a cut. The first time I had a cut on the outside and needed stitches as well. So this time, just the broken nose. They reset it right there on the side of the field, and good as new. I haven't had surgery since, but it's still a little bit crooked if you look close enough. But I tend to be the only one who notices it, I think. But obviously, like I said, I probably stare at myself in the mirror more than anyone else looks at me. So, yeah. But it's super, super straight up top, which is great. But then at the bottom, right where the tip of my nose is, it tends to go, I think, to the right a little bit. So 2 broken noses, but I can still breathe, so it's all good.
You went to Cardinal Gibbons High School. Are you 2 related?
Yes, I tell everyone that he was my great, 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 great uncle. But no, there's no relation there. It's just cool to have the same name as the place you went to high school. So, yeah, no relation, unfortunately, but growing up, I got so tired of the question that I just told everyone yes and didn't even explain it. So I just say yes and then walk away.
Oh, well, you just got my hopes up now. I was getting all excited.
Yeah, no, I hate to disappoint, unfortunately, in relation, but I convincingly told a lot of people yes.
You've been asked about this 1,000 times, and I have a feeling I'm not going to be the last person to ever bring this up, but why don't you have a North Carolina accent? Is it because you just don't have one, or you do have one and you're just fighting it?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't have one. I was technically born in Ohio, moved to North Carolina when I was really young. Mm-hmm. A lot of people ask me that, but I think in general, I have just a really strange voice, like a strange tone, or like it has a strange rasp to it. I'm not quite sure what to call it, or what the proper terminology is for my voice. But yeah, I don't know. I also have my dad and his whole family is from New York, so that's another northern influence. And my mom was born in Charlotte, but she doesn't quite have an accent either. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have one. I can definitely have one if I try to, but I'm not fighting it at all. This is just, I'm just talking normal right now. So,
is Beasley your dog or your family's dog?
So he's my sister's dog. I am a very proud aunt. But when my sister was living in North Carolina still, I would take care of him a lot. And so I tend to think of myself as the second mom, the cool mom, the cool aunt. Well, I don't know, however you want to describe it. But yeah, he's technically my sister's dog. But, and then my family has 2 other dogs. So, we're definitely people, and I love them all dearly. I miss them all a lot. But yeah, Beasley's definitely the fun child. He's the youngest, so yeah. As you can see on Snapchat, we do a lot with him, and he lets us do whatever and make him dance and all that good stuff. But yeah, he's fun. He's fun to have around.
But you're really the best dancer in the family, right? You have to be. I've seen that gif.
Oh, I am. But because like even all of his moves are actually my moves, because I'm just showing him how to do them. But yeah, I think a Beasley versus me and dance off would be pretty entertaining. My sister and I will probably come up with that pretty soon in the near future. So stay tuned. Maybe you can get a little peek on some type of social media. We'll see.
You have a lot of nicknames: Gibby, Gib, Lil Gib, Gibbs, Gibbo, Giblet, McGib, the Gibster, Tina, Teen, the Gobbler. Did I miss any?
X-Tina, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I have a ton. I've been called probably everything.
Is Gibby your favorite one?
Yeah, Gibby, definitely. Since I'm in Australia now, it's Gibbo, apparently, because it's more Australian, so everyone just calls me Gibbo. Also, for anyone who has an accent, Gibbo seems to be easier than Gibby, so anyone with an English or Australian accent, like previous coaches I've had in the past, call me Gibbo. So, yeah, Gibby or Gibbo seems to be the 2 favorites right now, but Gib is probably pretty high up there in terms of use.
Who started calling you that?
It started when I went to Duke. I think I wasn't called that at all for my club team or in high school. And then when I got to Duke, everyone was like, no, Christina's too long. Can we call you Gibby? I'm not sure who was like, yeah, Gibby. But then it was Gibby, and then whenever I went, I just started introducing myself as Gibby to everyone. So, over the years, it was like less and less people would call me Christina, and more people would call me Gibby. But, people I knew when I was younger still call me Christina, and my family, obviously, still calls me Christina. But my mom will sometimes be like, hey, Gibby, and, like, I'll have to, like, look at her a couple times because it sounds so weird when she says it. But she usually does it as a joke. They definitely call me still Christina, so.
During your career, you've worn number 2, 3, 4, 5, 13, 14, 20, 31, and I'm sure others that I'm forgetting, but recently you've mostly worn number 31, so why that number?
I'm not a big, number person. People, I feel like, are really strict about their numbers, and they have certain numbers, and they feel a certain way about certain numbers. I'm like, yeah, whatever, but now that I've had 31, I'm like, might as well stick with it. But the reason I started with 31 at Duke was because there was like a mix-up with the numbers for our freshman class coming in, and I either had a choice. I could be number 1 or number 31. That was my option, because Robbie was like, I know you won't mind, like, whatever, because he knew me previously, and apparently other people were more particular about their numbers than I was. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really want a goalkeeper number, so I'll just take 31. So, and then it was 31 from there on, and Robbie was like, I promise you can have next pick to switch your number next year, and when I was a sophomore. But once I had 31, I was like, whatever, I'll just make it my own. And then Kansas City, I knew that it wouldn't be taken. And then when I came to Victory in Australia, they were like, are you sure you want 31? They thought it was kind of weird, but I was like, yeah, I'll take 31. So, yeah, now it's 31. I feel like I've made it my own, and I like it.
If you could trade places with anyone in the world for a week, who would you trade places with, and why?
I would love to be Ellen DeGeneres for just a day, just because I think she's hilarious, and I would love to know, like, what it feels like to be that brilliant, and just, I don't know, talk to celebrities as my job and be super funny. I think that would be awesome. So yeah, Ellen DeGeneres for a day.
If you could stay one age forever, how old would you stay, and why?
Oh, that's a tough question to ask a 22-year-old. I don't know. I don't think I've hit an age yet where I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd want to be this forever. But I don't know. I think it's cool how much you evolve and how much you change with, being able to look back and see how much you've grown. So I guess I would say 22. So I'd probably say 22 right now forever, but that's probably just because I'm 22. I don't know. I'd love to be a kid again, but I don't think I'd want to be that forever. That's a tough question. I don't know.
Some people are afraid of spiders. Some people are afraid of heights. Some people are afraid of the dark. What are you afraid of?
Dirtiness. Like, dirty things. Anything that's, like, not clean. I'm a clean freak, so maybe germs to a certain extent, but more so just like overall cleanliness. Like, I'm scared of things that aren't clean. So yeah, definitely that.
If you could go on a $1 million shopping spree at any store, what store would you go on that $1 million shopping spree at?
Probably Target. They have everything. Actually, I might change my mind. I saw there's a store, it's a standalone, the first time I've ever seen a standalone Restoration Hardware in Kansas City, and my mom and I went in there, and we just went up to the top balcony and hung out on some of the outside patio furniture for a little while, and it was probably one of the most peaceful afternoons I've had in Kansas City. And so, yeah, maybe Restoration Hardware now that I think about it, because it's awesome. But yeah, my gut instinct said Target, but now with a little bit of thought, I'm like, okay, maybe a furniture store like Restoration Hardware.
What's the best thing that ever happened to you?
I don't know. I feel extremely lucky to be, who I am and have the opportunities that I am. But I would probably just say, like, growing up in the family that I did and having the people around me that I did, I feel really, really lucky to be a part of such an awesome family. And yeah, nothing greater has happened to me than those people. So,
what's the worst thing that ever happened to you?
I don't know. Not that many bad things. I mean, like I said, I feel really lucky to be, in a position that I am and have all the opportunities that I do. That, like, nothing really sticks out to me. So, I don't know. Probably something really minuscule, like, being on a 15-hour flight and having the flight attendant spilled, like, hot tea in your lap while you're sleeping or something like that when I came over to Australia. I don't know. Nothing really that bad has happened, so that's the most recent thing that comes to mind.
Person you look up to the most?
My mom and my sister, definitely.
What's your pet peeve?
Dirty things. Or people who aren't clean. Or people who know how much I like certain things clean and purposely don't do it to annoy me.
Time period you'd like to go back and visit, and why?
I'd love to go back to the 90s and see, like, the time I grew up in as an adult. I think that would be really cool.
What's your hidden talent?
Impersonations.
Number one thing on your bucket list?
Right now it's to go to New Zealand, but I might accomplish that while I'm in Australia, so I might be able to check that off pretty soon, which should be awesome.
If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change and why?
I feel like just, wishing that there wasn't so many bad things that happen or, tragic events or, I feel like you read about something in the news every day that's really unfortunate, really sad, or really just heartbreaking. And, I wish that those things didn't have to exist, but I guess it's the way the world is. And yeah, I think that's one thing I would change.
Gibby, last question. Let's say you were on death row and about to be executed. What would your last meal be? And I need an entree, a dessert, and a beverage. What would your last meal be?
I would probably have my mom's roasted potatoes with, I don't know why I'm craving this, but maybe roasted sweet potato tacos now that I'm thinking about it. With corn tortillas, sweet potatoes, avocado and mango salsa, a little bit of red cabbage to put in there. Yeah, that sounds delicious. I've had them recently, but, I think that would really, really satisfy me. My beverage of choice, I'd love a cup of water on the side, but if I could really have something special, I'd probably have, some type of green fruit smoothie, or dragon fruit smoothie. That would be so good. And then for dessert, a vegan ice cream cake with an Oreo crumble on the bottom. Oreos are actually vegan as well because they're so artificial, which is kind of scary, but yeah, I think that's what it would be right now.
Gibby, this was great. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.